We make it harder than it really is.
Let's see. If they aren't filed anywhere, how are they enforceable? Let's see.
The trust?
I guess you're talking about trust, yes.
Yeah. Right. Like all private contracts, they're enforceable when you walk it through or bring it through the court system. But think of what we're talking about. We're talking about a trust, which is a love letter to your family as to what you're giving to whom and who's responsible for giving them this gift that you're leaving them. Everybody wants to enforce that. Everybody wants that.
Yeah.
Right? This is not a contract where you need to bring to my house 500 oranges every Tuesday. Right? And there's like a frost on all the oranges in Florida. There's no good oranges, right? This is not what we're talking about. Then, where's my oranges? I need to like sue you. That's not what's happening here, right? What's happening here is I love you so much. I've created a trust, and in that trust, I've left my house to you. And I've also, because I love you so much, left a bank account with a couple of dollars in there to help pay. If you choose to sell the house, that's your choice. But I've given you a gift of love. I wish I had one of those. That someone left me these gifts, right? My dad kind of sort of did, right? But he did it in a different way because his death was premature. So he didn't have time to put all these things in place, right? But the other way you can transfer assets without a will is to put that person's name on all your accounts. You put them on your bank account. You put them on your checking. You put them on every account that you have, your trading account. Mm-hmm. Wherever you have an account, you add them, right, to the account. So they co-own the account.
Exactly.
Too. So if something happens to you, as soon as they have the death certificate that they can show, they get all of that. And that's what my dad did for me. He added me. I was a kid. I was 9, right? But he added me to all of his accounts, right? But as a 9-year-old, I can't support a mortgage.
All right.
I wish someone could have guided me through that process, but nobody did. But I got his investment account, but I didn't realize he had done that because he died suddenly until I was like early 20s. Later than that, late 20s. When the company reached out to me because they had seen an article about me in the New York Times. And they recognized the name, my full name, Lydie Louis. And they said, hey, didn't we have a priest with that name? And, they didn't have to do that, right? Yeah. This is God's hand. Right? So when they contacted me and I said, yes, I am. And they asked me some verification questions. Where did I live when I was 9? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And they confirmed it was me. And my dad had deposited, or he was buying gold and silver through this account because that's God's money. Yeah. Right? As a priest, right?
Exactly.
And it sat there for almost 20 years and just grew. And by the time they got it to me, it was worth a whole lot of money. I use that as collateral to buy a whole bunch of stuff, right? Never, right? Never. And the collateral thing, and I wanted to training on collateral because collateral is if I don't pay this, then you can take this. People love that.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't pay the mortgage, I get the gold. Great. But of course you're going to pay the mortgage. Because you don't want to give up the gold. But the collateral changes things for us. But I had that because my dad started that 20 years earlier. So I always say, what are we starting now for the people that we love?
Yeah. True.
Right? That's the trust, the private documents that we're talking about. So that wasn't listed anywhere. That wasn't filed anywhere. And the company could have been a sucky company and just pretended they didn't see my name. But they're honor bound, right? They're honor bound. Oh, wait, this Lydie Louis, she's about the same age. She grew up in Brooklyn. What are the odds, right? And they asked me verifying questions. Like, what was your father's full name? When did he die? What was his profession? Right? So they narrow it. Who is likely to know these details? So again, remember the trust is a private document. The only people that are going to enforce it is who you elect to enforce it. That's going to be your trustee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the person that you believe will live longer than you that will enforce this love letter that you're leaving for your family and friends? There's no court system involved, right? That can change things or delay things even better, right? That people can challenge things. Oh no, don't give them money to T-Swift, right?
Yeah. If there's nobody to give it to, they make the final decision.
They make the final decisions, right? So I know it's a paradigm shift, it's a mind shift, because we were taught or we've been exposed to doing it one particular way, but that's not the good way to do it, right? The trust, which is why that whole area of law is called trust and estates, right? Your estate is everything that you own, right? The trust is the contractual document that gives that instructions and directions to all the things, right, that you own. And I know this is information that oftentimes our communities don't get, and we can do a whole episode on why doesn't our communities get this, right? Get this information, right? But it's different. When you hear new information, it sometimes doesn't blend well, right? With what we've already known or been taught. That's because it's not intended to blend well, right? It's almost disruptive in a way. Hey, no, we have to shift. There's a different way to do it. There's a better way to do it for your family. And I'm just going to say that sometimes it's intentional that it was not taught in the first instance.
Do you think the generation now are wising up and trying to go look and get the information?
No.
And is kids dwindling and keep going down?
No. And I'll tell you why there's no one looking for it. They don't even know to look for it. Unless we have conversations like this.
Yeah.
Right? They wouldn't even know, oh, I should do a trust and safety for will. That doesn't come up in high school. It doesn't come up in college. It doesn't come up in graduate school. It came up in law school because that was a class the lawyers had to, learn, right? The doctors don't know about it. The medical doctors that are treating the person that's dying, they don't know anything. Like, call the family, see what plans they have. The family's like, we don't know.
Yeah, they never talk. We had this, and we had a guest on Dr. Michelle, and we talked about that. The question came up about education. It's like, do you feel like they're teaching the kids what they need to learn so they can survive in this world? And because I made the statement, I was like, I feel like I didn't get taught anything in school that will prepare me for this world.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think that's intentional for all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So then if you don't know, if it wasn't taught, then you don't know what to do. That's better for you and the ones that you love. You don't know how to correct it. Yeah. Right. Who do you call to fix it? And then you're like, what do you say? I'd like you to fix my. It isn't. You don't even know how to create the question, right? Because we've been so disconnected to what we really, really need to know in our lives to have a better life now and to create a better life for those that we love. There's just no information about it, right? The SBA thing we've been talking about, that's just a way to get some money to do these things, to create your trust, right? To go ahead and fund it, right? To buy property. I'm a big believer you have to own property. A big believer you have to own property. And people are like, well, why? I said, well, I'll tell you why. Every time I look at my property value, it's worth a lot more than I bought it for.
Yeah.
How about that? They're not making any more land in America. Right? So all of us gather together. And, there was a thing they used to do in the Caribbean where, they call it a susu, right? Where 10 people or 12 people in the group, and week one, T-Swing gets all the money. Right, that everybody put in $100, right? So now you've got 2,000 or 20,000, however the amount was. Go do something with that 20,000, right? The next month, somebody else gets all the money, right? Because it's going around and around and around and around. The problem with those things, as my mother discovered, everybody in the group has got to be truthful and reliable. If one person is not truthful and reliable, it breaks up the whole thing, right? You lose your money.
Yeah.
Right.
But
the Asian community to this day believes in this actively, right? It's a way to get a big grouping of cash, right? Amongst 7 or 10 people to go do something with it. And then continue to help the others do something as well. So trust, faith in each other becomes a huge thing. And unfortunately for several of us, people have broken our trust. And we hesitate, or we pull away from, or we don't do some of the things that could really be beneficial to us and our family, because we've been hurt before, lied to before, people stole from us. As my father would say, give those people grace and let it go and begin anew. And it's hard. I know it's hard.
I got kind of a selfish question. You said you're gonna get all your money back on your taxes. Do you have any tips or tricks to try to get some money? Because
yes.
I've learned that the way a lot of wealthy people keep their money is that they don't pay taxes.
They pay very little.
Yeah.
They pay very little, right? So part of it is January 1st of every year, I tell folks that if you don't have a business, get one. The month of January, February, March, get your business, a real business, like you register it, an LLC, and you can do. I say the LLC rather than a C corp, and I'll explain these things to people. So the LLC, the limited liability company, is an extension of you. So it's what you're doing, but you've put a business around it, right? And then they'll say, how about a C corp? Well, a C corp is a designation from the IRS. It has nothing to do with creating the company, but it's how the company is taxed, right? So you can be a C corp, which are big companies, and most big companies pay nothing, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Or you can do an S corp. So you can be an LLC with an S corp from the IRS. All that means is S used to stand for, back in the day, you can only have an S corporation if you were self-employed professional. They define professional as someone who has licenses like the ones I have behind me, right? So only those people were allowed to get a C corp, a self-employed, because you had a license that you were a doctor, you had a license you were a lawyer, you had a license you were a CPA. You had a license because you were a nurse, right? So if you had a license, you can be an S corp. Everybody else paid beaucoup taxes because you couldn't deduct, right? All of these expenses that you were paying for stuff, even though you had a business. So if you want to get the maximum return, but the 675 deductions that are in the tax code for small businesses, you need to have a small business. So tax tip number one, if you don't have an LLC, get one now. The other tax tip for the LLC is your LLC could be in any state in the country. It does not need to be the state that you live in. So there are 7 states that don't have any business taxes. They're probably the ones that your LLC should be in, right? Because these are so wealthy. Like, you don't want your chump change. You can keep your little LLC money. We've got big enterprises. We've got tourism. We've got movies. We've got, cruising taxes. We don't need you, right? So there's 7 states. The lovely state of Florida, which I co-live in, is one of those states. Guess where my business is located? Florida, not New York, right? Why not New York? Well, New York is a really heavily taxed state if you're a business, right? So you've kind of have to know the flow of what's better, right, for you. So you want to be in Texas, no income tax on businesses, woohoo, right? Colorado, woohoo. Nevada, a lot of businesses in Nevada, not only do they have no state tax, they don't even report that you're there. I'm like, who are you looking for? What? They don't live here, right? And that's because Nevada has the big gambling,
Yeah.
there, right? They're like, we don't know nothing. Right? Is there gambling going on here? So, so there are all these states, New Hampshire, no taxes. You're like, New Hampshire? Yep, no taxes. So you can place your LLC in the states that don't have taxes. I say Florida because I'm here. It's a beautiful place to come and visit. No problema, as I say, if you have your business there. The other big tax tip is that if you're brand new, like you've had your business for less than 3 years, the government lets you deduct $10,000 of business expenses for each year that you're a startup. And they define a startup, they give you that 3-year period that you're still a startup. What does that mean to you? Well, if you didn't have an LLC last year, get one now. So this year's taxes, you can really get that $10,000 startup advantage. If you did have your LLC last year, great. You can deduct up to $10,000 because you're still a startup, right? Even though you've been in business for a year. If you've been, and it goes back 3 years. So 2003, 2002, 2001, each of those years, you can do the 10,000, and it's not limited to 10,000, right? But it's the $10,000 they kind of sort of expect most people would spend that. We spend more, of course, right, on getting the business going. Then you might want to say to me, well, I already did my taxes for 2022 and 2021. I can't get that. Yes, you can. You're allowed to revise your taxes going back 2 years. So we can revise it and put in all of those expenses, right, that you had, right, in 2022 and 2021. You can't go back 2 years. They'll let you go back. So that's a nice refund check to you, right? That's going to bring in a couple of thousand. I'm going to go out on a limb based on what I did the past 2 years for businesses and say that I'll probably get you somewhere in the neighborhood about $3,500 to $3,800 for each year. So we're talking that's 3,000, the 6,000, 6,800. So that's $4,600 as a refund for stuff that you've already done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's not even including the following we're going to do for last year, right? That's the 2 year back that you're going to get that. So, and you may say that's not a whole lot of money. Heck, I'll take $400 to $600. Oh, damn.
Exactly.
Right? And what if you got that every year going forward because you have a business? And don't forget, these expenses that you're deducting include traveling. I tell everybody you should be speaking. My podcast brothers, you should be, going around the country, right? Doing your podcast in every city you want. And all of that expense is deductible, right? And you might say, why would I want to do that? You get to travel, meet more people. I have found that when people meet you in person, that there's an energy flow that doesn't happen, right, on camera. On camera is good. It's good. Okay? But if I were to meet you guys, we'd be like, oh my God, we're finally meeting. Right? There's so much excitement in the room. There's energy. And it's all deductible. Right? And the reason it works that way is because, remember, the tax code was written for businesses, and they necessarily businesses that look like us. Now there are businesses that look like us, right? But back then, when it was first created, they didn't look like us, and they traveled, right? And they're still traveling. You're entitled, and here's the last tip I'll give for the tax. You're required every year when you're a company, LLC, S Corp, doesn't matter what type of company that you are. Oh, Dr. Tina, it doesn't matter what type of company that you have. You're required, right, to have a corporate board meeting, at least one, every year by law. That's what the statute also says. You can have that board meeting anywhere in the world. Hawaii, baby! Right? Anyway, I'm going to Paris. Right? And your board can come with you, and they too get to deduct that, right, on their taxes, because it was a board meeting for, for the business that they're board members of.
Mm-hmm.
Required to have one. There's no limit to how many you can have.
Mm.
Trouble for business. Right? And we forget these things. Oh, board meeting in Thailand. There you go.
Why not, right?
Now you have to have at least 3 board members. They don't have to come, right? It's great if they come, but you can go and they can zoom in. And you might say, well, how would you possibly justify that? Well, I had to go see some new potential folks in Thailand that I could create business opportunities with. And I had my board meeting scheduled. They couldn't attend. We Zoomed it, but I needed to be here in Thailand, right, to do it. So I just did it for a client of mine. They write content for big companies, right? And I told them, now that you're an LLC, where will you have your board meeting? And they said, we've always wanted to go to, oh God, what's the place in Mexico? I'm blanking on the name of Mexico. Cabo.
Cabo San Lucas?
Yeah, Cabo San Lucas, they said. I said, go. Have your board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. And they brought 2 other board members with them. And as soon as they got back, they sent me the list of all the expenses to begin deducted.
Yes. Itemized list.
I love it. Right there. They're like, here are all our receipts. So we can please get started on our taxes. I said, listen, you're in the queue. You don't worry, you're in the queue. Right. But these are things that unless someone teaches it to us, shares it with us, we would never in a million years figure this out.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes for, you're going to create new business contacts, whether it's Thailand or Bali or Hawaii, wherever you're going for your board meeting, right? You're going to talk about your business. I tell folks, make sure you present. Have the board meeting, but have a presentation at a library, at a restaurant. Restaurants love opening their, for an hour lunch and greet, right? And the reason you do that, in case the IRS says to you, that was just a family vacation, right? We've heard Dr. Liddy's videos.
Yeah.
Right? Which is why I say present somewhere. You can have a restaurant, send the poster to the restaurant. You'll be here lunchtime Wednesday, 12 o'clock to host, sharing about podcasting, right? And what you need to do, what to not do, blah, 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 1 hour, and we'll buy you a cup of coffee, whatever, right? Or you can buy them, sandwiches. That's all deductible, right? And that becomes the legitimate reason for being in Cabo to go to this meeting at this restaurant, right? To present, to share your business with people, and then deduct everything. I hope this was helpful, because this is what people are doing every day.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of the tax code. And while some people are running from it, because that's what we were taught, be scared of the tax code. The tax code was written for entrepreneurs that it doesn't even require you to be profitable. People are like, oh, you've got to make profit to do that. There's nothing in the code that says that. Right. And if you, and I want to make sure I say this share this one thing about taxes for you. When you have a nonprofit, and it's a 501c3, not a state one, 501c3 with the federal government, Google will give you, once you have your 501c3 status, will give you $10,000 a month of free ads because you're a nonprofit. Okay. Oh, did you know about this?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Have you done it?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I've seen somebody else's company. Somebody else who had I haven't done it, but I've seen somebody else who had one, and I was like, man, where the hell is all that advertising money coming from?
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is what my peoples. The moment you learned about that, I wish that you would have then called me or somebody, or try to do it yourself, to get that, it's called the Google Ad Grant. And it works like this. After you have your 501c3 designation from the IRS, that's what they need, right? Then you send it, there's an email that you attach it, the paperwork to, and you send it off to Google and say, hey, Mr. Google, just got my 501c3. I understand you're doing a Google Ad Grant for 501c3s. Our 501c3 is about providing knowledge, training, and empowering new business owners of color, or put in whatever extra that's and make it specific to really what you do, because they do watch, right? And how do I get started? And they'll say, great, we'll have somebody reach out to you. It's very quick. Someone reaches out to you. You need a website, right? Because that's the whole point of the Google Ad Grant, because what they're going to be doing is sending out advertisements about your nonprofit to their whole database about you. Right? So they let everyone know in the community. Then what they do, they allow you to send ads for free, because you got that $10,000 grant, so up to $10,000 a month, that you're sending out advertisements about your nonprofit. So they're marketing to you, and then you're marketing as well. And what that does is bring a ton of traffic into your business. Get ready for it, right? Because now you don't have to go look for clients. You don't have to go look for opportunities. They're coming to you. They're going to say, oh, we saw your ad on the Google. I need your help. But some people may say, we want to give you a grant, right? Another grant wants to come your way. But the Google Ad Grant is fantastic. Now, this is how you, Dr. Tina would say, monetize that, right? This is how you up-level it, right? You can then create your nonprofit's name to be very similar to your for-profit's name. So let's take mine, for instance, right? The Legal Wellness Company is my for-profit. I bring wellness to people when they have the legal issues, business issues, family issues, estate planning, what have you, right? My for-profit is called, wait for it, Finding Legal Wellness. Guess what happens when the nonprofit, right, that has the Google Ad Grant is being promoted by Google, right, which is the Finding Legal Wellness. It's also going to pop up Legal Wellness Company. So you're in a way getting a double support, because the nonprofit's getting that, because you were smart enough, right, to name your nonprofit very similar to your for-profit. Now your for-profit, right, is getting that boost of Google. They don't get the grant, but they get the advertisement. They show up as often, right, as the nonprofit is showing up. So now you're providing more eyeballs, more potential clients for your for-profit company as well. So I hope that was useful.
Yeah, very useful.
That's killing two birds with one stone.
Right?
Yes, that's what we do. That's what we do. And Google works. It works. And it doesn't only work US. Google is global.
Worldwide.
So you might start getting people calling you from Bora Bora saying, hey, I saw your ad about your nonprofit. And I understand you have a for-profit too. Don't tell Google we're doing this. Google might be, hey, Dr. Lydie's way too smart. She's hacking the hackers.
YouTube is listening, so they got AI and YouTube.
Right.
And Google.
It's all good, right? We're serving the world in every possible way.
Man, we appreciate all the great information you dropped on us tonight. This has been an amazing show. You have been an amazing guest. Also, too, I wanted to touch on you have a book coming out soon, right?
Listen, Dr. Tina to tell you this. I've been working on this book.
This is the internet told me this, you know.
I have a book. Yes. So I got 2 books at this point that are half written. there's one that I'll tell a brief story. There's one called the Visibility Book, which I was speaking at an event, and the gentleman out who started the big it was the is it the started a huge, I'm blanking out, Bob Serrata called me, and he was Sarcosta reached out to me when he heard me speak, and he is the host and co-owner of the Home Shopping Network.
Okay.
And he said, wow, why don't you have a book that we can sell? I said, what book? You know, I'm like, I'm a doer, right?
Yeah.
I bring wellness, right? What can I help you with, right? I'm not one of those folks that can sit and just make up stuff, right? Right? I need real stuff to do. And so Bob Sarcosta says to me, you should have a book because people will love this knowledge. You could be the Susie Orman of law, right? He says, you know, I made Susie famous. I said, oh, no. And he said, so where's your book? And I said, somewhere, but not here, right? So I have this visibility book that I was supposed to be working on, and then COVID happened. And he's such a good man, Bob Sarcosta. He still sends me emails and text messages. We're waiting for your book. So that's one book which will be sold on the Home Shopping Network, and it's going to be the same format of what Susie Orman did for folks, which is our Q&A. You know, let's solve these legal problems that real people are having and are not getting good intel in terms of how to do it, right? So let's fix that for everyone. The other book is one that really Dr. Tina inspired me to write, which is helping people understand intellectual property, that our content that we create is worthy of protection from the United States government. So that's our copyrights, our trademarks, patents. And people will say, oh, I don't have enough stuff for a patent. Well, a patent is just a new way of doing something. It's a uniqueness that you bring to something that already exists, right? It's, you know, you might say, oh, I don't need a patent for the podcast. Everybody has one. But some people have successful podcasts and others don't. What is the difference? And if you can create a system where you could almost guarantee that people that use your system for creating their podcast would be successful podcasters, that's worthy of a patent, at least for the patent office to review and tell you no, right? But there's always tweaks that you can make. Well, what is it missing for you guys? You know, they work with you. So that's the second book is that I'm working on, and none of these things are fully written, but this is the year, gentlemen. I need to get the information out there to the world. And the reason I say that is because I feel in my spirit that we are, as a group, and my dad used to say this, right, that we fail for lack of knowledge. We fail because we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't fail because we're lazy. We don't fail because we're poor. We don't fail because we don't have, you know, enough money, or no one supports us. No one believes in us. We fail for lack of knowledge, that we don't know how to do things. Right, that no one taught us that process. No one taught us that system. And I know for me, oftentimes I think, should I know the system, right? Is it for me, right? That, you know, and I fall into this religious thing of, well, if it was for me, God would tell me what to do. Right? And then I'm like, well, it says in the Bible that God expects us to go out and seek knowledge. That's an affirmative duty on us to go and find the knowledge, to implement it so our children can live well, right? And we see in the Bible that oftentimes the people that are doing good stuff, the benefit is really their children, right? You know, that receive, I mean, they receive some of it, but the true benefit is really their kids that receive it. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. I do have those two books that I'm still working on. This is the year though, because this is for me. I'm like, I'm giving myself pow because I'm like, why haven't I done this? And I have no real reason other than to write, you've got to be deep in it for me, right? It's got to come from deep inside of me. The wording, the phrasing, that is it touching my people? Are they hearing me? Is it clear on paper? And I was telling Dr. Tina this a couple of weeks ago, and I said, in Habakkuk, it talks about how God says, write it clear upon tablet so that those that see it can run with it. That was written over 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. Guess what we use now to read? Tablets.
A tablet.
Right. And it just popped in my head the other day. I said, oh my God, it's all biblical, right? And I'm like, Dad, I hear you. I got to get this on a tablet, right? So thank you for that. It's a reminder to me that there's work that needs to be done for all of us, right? And work for me to do too, to make sure that our communities are good, and that there's money flow and that there's legal wellness in our communities. And hopefully I've planted some good seeds tonight to help folks.
You're most definitely.
Yeah, if you can see the chat, I'm pretty sure you got some new fans out there. We got people saying, bring her back. Amazing show,
Oh,
thank you.
I have another question. I have another question before we let you go. You were talking about children and everything. Legacy, everybody talks about leaving a legacy. So what steps do you think that we need to take to build a long-lasting legacy for our family?
Yeah. So there are a couple of things and thank you for that question, because it's often, how do you leave that legacy? Certainly what you gentlemen are doing here, the legacy, because these videos will live forever until, YouTube takes them down or something. But until that time, right. Until that time, that's a legacy.
Yeah.
But I tell everyone, when we talk about legacies, it's three parts, right? It's what we're doing. What do we do? What have we learned? What is our body of knowledge? And it's taken us pain and hardship and sorrow to really create that we will pass down, right, to those that we love, right? That's legacy part one. Legacy part two is money, right? We must leave money. Right. My dad loved money, and it's made a world of difference for me. I want all of us to leave money. And you might say, well, how do I get that money? Well, we can all get a life insurance policy.
Exactly. I was going to ask you.
Now I don't have a life insurance, license, so don't think of it.
Gotcha.
But this is what I've learned from watching certain clients. They get big insurance policies, right? And when you look at the numbers, the difference between getting the monthly premium for getting a $250,000 policy versus an $850,000 policy might be the difference of $100, and they don't tell you.
Yeah.
Right. So I have clients that get those $850,000 policies, and sometimes I get three of them with three different companies.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, it's $100 difference. Yes, because why is that? It's because the insurance companies have figured out the algorithm that most people feel uncomfortable going beyond $150, $175 a month. And if you added another 100 to that, you would triple the amount of life insurance that your family would get.
Exactly.
With $100, that's not eating like 4 times. Okay, 2 times. Right? That's not eating out 2 times a month. You now went from leaving $250 to $850 for your family. And I'm like, when I figured out the math, because I was a physics major in college, so math and flow and all of that, lights up my brain, right? And when I figured that out, I called everybody I knew. Hey, change your policies. Again, I'm not a life insurance agent, but it's the math. The math never lies, right? Except none of these agents are telling us if we added an extra 100 that we would get $850,000 that we leave in that account, in that trust, for our family. And oh my God, what could they do with $850,000 in cash, a check that comes in?
Yeah.
it'll change their lives. So I tell everyone the life insurance policy for sure, pay the extra 100, 125, whatever, and get the $850,000 policy. Do not go up to $1 million. I'll tell you why. If you get $1 million policy, because that's the number, right? Everybody hears, $1 million policy. You have to pay so much more. You're paying like $400 to $500 a month to get that extra $150,000 for your family. When it's for an extra 100, you get $850, but you need like $300 or $400 a month more to get the $1 million. Stay away from that $1 million, right? Right. 850 is good enough for the family. You're going to be okay. The other thing with regard to legacy building is that you have to put in place your super group, as I call it. The people that for certain when you're no longer around will carry out and take care of your family for you. That's going to be your lawyer for sure. So who's your lawyer matters. It's going to be your doctors, right? And you might say, why do I need a doctor on the team? Because good doctors will tell you what's wrong with you early enough so you can get better, so you can extend your life, right? Yeah. As opposed to going to the random doctor who's available today, your own doctor. Form that relationship with your own doctor, right? And there is a lot of really good doctors. My brother-in-law is a doctor in Orlando, and I learned this from him, right? And when he said a lot of these folks are just going to the doctor on call, that guy don't care about you.
They're looking at the clock.
They're looking at the clock. So, and they're writing a prescription. They're writing a prescription for your health. So you've got to form a relationship. Go through the listings, find the one that resonates with you, and tell them, I want to make an appointment just to interview you to see if you're the type of doctor that will be looking out for them. They'll be shocked that you say that. Yeah. Right now, you've got a family doctor. Now you've got a family lawyer. If your lawyer doesn't do taxes like I do, you need a really, really good CPA, right? That knows these. Or I tell people, can you just learn this? This is not that hard. Right, you guys must have learned 7 things that I've taught you tonight about the taxes, right? At least 7. It's not that hard, right? And I tell folks, if you can't afford a tax lawyer or a CPA guy, Intuit is great. For $40, they've done all the law for you. Right? Sit your booty in a chair and do some Intuit. Right? Now, it might take you 3 days, maybe 4 days, right? Right? To figure out, but you'll do it. And it's like $49. And they take the money out of the refund. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Listen, I don't work for Intuit, right? I do have an affiliation with their sister company, Rocket Lawyer. I get a ton of Rocket Lawyer comments, right? But Intuit, right, is part of that. They own a couple of things. They own Intuit, which is the taxes. They own Rocket Lawyer for the lawyers. They own Credit Karma for your credit. Let's get our credit right. I tell everybody, let's stop running from the credit dude and turn around and face him. Use Credit Karma to do it. And when you've exhausted Credit Karma, call me, because I sue them, right, to take it off, right, because you have to follow the statute. And what they do, one of my clients from B School in Brooklyn told me this. A brother, he does amazing financial literacy stuff out of Brooklyn. Said that they resell the loans repeatedly. That even if they just keep passing them on and on, so you never get out from under this bill, this debt, or whatever with your credit, right? And so he partnered with me. He's like, "Can you send a legal lawyer?" No, and I said, "Well, if I draft it, I got to be ready to defend it, right? Because they got lawyers too." Right. So let them understand, yes, I can draft the letter that says you're in violation of these laws, but you got to enforce it. So let them know to enforce it. That can't be free on my end. I love you, but I got to go to the court. I got to stand up and tell them something, right? Do they remove them? And I tell folks sometimes going to court is the best thing for you. We often run away from the courts because we think there's going to be some negative judgment on us.
Yeah.
When it comes to credit repair, we are the hero because the judges know how badly these credit repair companies behave and threaten us and lie to us and, resell the debt repeatedly that we can never get away from it. So we are at an advantage, actually, right? When we go to court and the judge, and this is federal court, not state court, it's the highest court in the state of where you live, right? Most of these credit peoples don't want to be bothered because they know the judge is going to like, where's the paperwork? But it's going to be on them, right? So they rather just withdraw and say, okay, we've taken it off, right? Or we've gotten more information, so we've taken it off, blah, blah, blah. But that's only when you say, let's go to court, let's go to war. Come on, let's do this. Yeah. Stop threatening me, let's go to war, right? Yeah. And then it's like, I must have misunderstood.
We don't have no problem.
I love it. Man. So those are the top things that I would say going forward for us. Those are the initial couple of things that I think will make a huge difference in our lives, just giving us peace of mind.
Yeah.
Man. Dr. Lydie, you've been an amazing guest. And man, I seen something, man. I liked the quote on your website at the bottom of the page. You had a quote.
Oh, really? What is it? I can't remember that, T-Swin.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question real quick, and then we can get on out of here. But it says, your emphasis on the pursuit of happiness as a constitutional right is powerful. In today's fast-paced world, how can individuals navigate challenges and actively pursue their happiness? And do you have any practical tips or insights to share on maintaining the pursuit amidst life's complexities?
Yeah. So the pursuit of happiness is in the Constitution. That is a right that each of us have as an American or as a citizen of the United States, right? Is the pursuit of happiness. And that was put in there by Alexander Hamilton, right? That I have a right in this country to pursue to be happy. And we're not taught that, right, at any level of education, right? Not even lawyers are taught pursuit of happiness. You have to read, like, I'm a student of history because I'm like, was it always this messed up? Was it always, was everything always against me? Or was there a shift somewhere, right? And then when you're in history, you're like, oh my God, it was even worse than it is now, right? So I'm happy to be living, right? I'm happy to be living in today's times. But Alexander Hamilton, who was born in the Caribbean to a Caucasian mother and an African father, right? That they verified, right? So he was a brother, and he was treated like a brother, right? Nobody wanted him after his mother died, right? Yeah. He went to work at the age of 9 for the shipping companies because he spoke many languages, and people don't realize that how hard it is when you're poor, regardless of what color you are. And that there was a time in this country, if you were white and poor, you were even worse off, right? It's, oh my God, really? I'm like, yeah, because they look down on you even more because their view is you should have had these opportunities. So what did your family do wrong, right? And so when Hamilton came to the United States, he befriended George Washington, and he was a mulatto. All these paintings of him that we see, and I'm going to prove this one day. Right? I'm going to go to his home, right, in Nevis, in the island of Nevis in the Caribbean, because they're paintings of him when he was a child. So he's not as light-skinned as they often think that Alexander Hamilton, really was. I mean, he was a light-skinned brother, but he was clearly a brother. But one of the things that he insisted in the Constitution was this concept of the pursuit of happiness. That it is our legal right to be happy, to pursue that, to chase it down, wrestle it to the ground. I want happiness, right? And it is defined by him to be whatever brings you wellness. Yeah. Whatever brings you comfort. Right. So I'm borrowing from great minds. I didn't come up with this, right? I sequenced it, but that is our right. And I want us to really understand what that means to us today. You have a constitutional right, which is the highest right in the country, and I'll say the world, if we put the United States as numero uno, right? We have a right in this country to be happy. but yet everything around us behaves and works in a way for us not to be happy.
Yeah.
What does that mean then? Then that means that, you know, as the ancient Mayans used to say, that if it is to be, it is up to me. That no one's going to give it to us. No one's going to give us happiness. We have to create it for ourselves, whatever that looks like. If it is up to be, that it is up to me, I have to do the hard work. No one's going to do the hard work for me. No one's going to do the taxes as good as I can do it. Once you learn how to do it, no one's going to do them better than me, right?
Yeah.
If I want to start a business, no one's going to run my business better than me, right? Because it's the love of my business that I'm going to infuse into my business. It becomes an extension of me. It's a part of me. You gentlemen are sharing knowledge that the viewers probably don't get from other places. I'm going to step out on faith and say that.
I would agree with you.
Right? Yeah. That they're not getting this in other places. That they come to listen, to learn, to find community, to learn what to do next. True believer of, no one's going to do it for me. I mean, I've got proof of that. I've asked people to do things for me, and they did their best, and you know, it was okay, right? And it's not that they didn't. It's not that they chose not to do their best. I'm not saying that they were mean-spirited or anything, but I'm saying that they didn't know how to make it the best.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They didn't have the exposure, the understanding to make it their best. So I believe this is just a Lydie thing, right? Learning from my father as I saw him teach law to people in the community on the front porch for years. He gave his best. He would explain. And if people didn't understand it clear enough that he thought they would make a mistake, he said, I'll do it with you. And I remember those moments, and I'm like, wow,
yeah,
I'm going to do it with them. Not for you. And this is what lawyers do, right? So I want to give back our power. I do it with you, right? I'll guide you through what I know to be true. And if I don't know something, I'll say, hey, I don't know, but I'm going to go find out. I'll be right back, right? Yeah. But I think we've defaulted into this habitude, as it says in the Bible, this habitude of letting someone do it for us. And here's what I've learned over the years. No one is going to do it. No one's going to do it better than you, for you. No one. Some will do okay. Some will do good. Some will do great. But you're going to be spectacular because it's for you, and it's for your legacy. It's for your children. It's for those that you love. It's for generations to come, you know, from your family. So my motto has been for a very long time that I empower the family. Because Dad used to empower families, even if it's a family of one, but he viewed them as a family, that from them others will come, whether that's by marriage, adoption, what have you, or even if they, you know, just make the decision to stay alone. But we're never truly alone if we believe in faith, right? We believe that God is with us, Jesus is with us, so we're not alone. And there's no reason to be scared on top of it. So I would say that we're living in times that are extremely difficult because we're disconnected. And I'm just going to say this because it's in my spirit, that we've been forced to be disconnected from faith. That we don't believe things will get better. That we see so much sadness, so much loss, so much things that are not good, that we've come to expect things that are not good, right? That it's a shock to our system, and it's almost disbelief when something good happens to us, right? Yeah. And I want this to be the year, and I'm going to step out on my own faith and said, I want this to be the year that I step forward and do what I've said with you gentlemen tonight, which is to do the good things, even when there's no real clear path, that we still do the right things. And I want to encourage the listeners that they do the same thing, because if you don't, who will?
Yeah.
And then we lose another generation that's not clear on what to do, that's living on the borderline of whatever, borderline of homelessness, borderline of poverty, borderline of drug, And if we're not going to make that commitment to each other, me and you locking arms to, I'm here to help. You're here to help. You're here to help. We're all here to help. If we don't do that, my sense is that we have really damaged the next generation.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't do our part properly, and we fail for lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. Lack of know-how, and no one comes to our support when we send out the signals. People were like, how was it that the Haitian army was able to defeat Napoleon? Napoleon had taken over everything that he touched. They could not defeat the Haitian army because Haiti was originally Hispaniola, which is land of little mountainous land. Half of it Dominican Republic because it's a giant mountain range, and then the other half is Haiti. But when Napoleon's army came, they met up against the Haitian army because the trade winds brings you to Haiti and not to the Dominican Republic, right? So they defeated Napoleon for a couple of reasons, and it's not often written about. One, the Haitian army was trained by Napoleon. There was a requirement that from France that all the able-bodied men that were a certain stature or whatever, rather than be slaves, would become part of the French military. So the Dessalines, the Toussaints, and all of those guys had gone to be part of, Napoleon's army. And while they were there, they were learning all this thing about freedom and equity and, strength. And they're like, wait a minute. So when they went back home to the island, they started training people, freedom and strength and unity. And, to this day, the Haitian flag is La Union fait la force, which is in unity, we have strength, right? So they declared independence, right? These very military men that Napoleon trained turned around when they got home, right, and said, "Oh, enough of this slavery stuff, right? We're gonna fight." So then Napoleon tricked them and said, "Okay, all right, you guys are right. All right, we're gonna come. Let's make peace. You're my best soldiers. This is ridiculous. We shouldn't be fighting." So he sends warships on the pretense of we're gonna make this right. The first thing that the warships did when they got to the island is that they shackled Dessalines, which was the main guy, right? And they shackled Toussaint Louverture, the other main guy, and threw them on ships and took them back to France and executed them. Yeah. And that made the people go crazy. You kill our warriors, and then the whole island just rose up. Yeah. Then again, malaria. God then finds a way and makes all the French soldiers sick with malaria. Throwing up, poo-pooing, vomiting, like couldn't fight. Power of God, right, on that island. And the soldiers are strong warriors themselves from, were trained. So all the slaves revolted and defeated the army, went off, and the French army went off. I tell this story because it was the first time in history that well-organized slaves beat, and no one had beaten Napoleon's army up until that point. The next battle that Napoleon fought was against the English in Waterloo, and because the soldiers had gotten such a whooping in the Caribbean, could not win against the English in Waterloo, and they failed there. That's the second battle. But history will say the first battle was in Waterloo, but that is not true. Right? Black and brown people got together. They beat Napoleon's army. They're like, get out of here. And then God said, let me send some pestilence on you. Here's some malaria. Right? Right? And I tell the story because I want us to understand how blessed we are. right? That no matter what has gotten us to this point in time, it was a meeting that was meant to be had. That is on the spiritual realm. We needed to hear these questions. We needed to hear these answers. We needed to see each other. We needed to vibrate with the same sense that our lives can be better, right? We do not need to accept where we are right now. That by accepting is a failure. The same thing with the Haitian army. Their greatest warriors were entrapped, thrown into a boat, and sent off to France to be executed. They could have said, "Oh, we don't have leaders anymore, right? We're done."
Yeah.
Instead, they just rose up and said, "Oh, you're going to kill one of us? We're going to kill all of you." Right? Well, maybe not quite that way, but
the educational purposes only.
Right. But I want us to have that feeling of no matter what has gone before in our lives, where whatever we've experienced that have trampled us, that made us feel less worthy, unworthy, and that we're alone, it's all a fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true. They want you to think and believe that, but on a spiritual level, it is not true. Look at us. Look at us. We're hungry for knowledge. We're hungry for support. And that's the beauty of us. So I hope the words that I've shared empowers us. I hope that it enriches us. I hope that it elevates our thinking and that we begin to vibrate on a level of togetherness, because we can do this together, right? But it's when we do it alone that we get taken out, right? Yeah. And not just on a physical sense that we stop trying, we give up, but on a spiritual sense that we don't even try again, right? And that we pass that down to our children. Don't even try, it didn't work, blah, 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 right? And then we create the opposite legacy, right? We're not doing a legacy of wealth, right? We're doing a legacy of death almost, right? Don't try, don't do, stay small, just get your little check and blah, blah, blah. Don't anger anyone, don't try to buy that house. Don't try to go to college. It didn't work. That was what we call in science, one fact point. Mm-hmm. That doesn't define anything else that's being tested. That's just one fact point. And I think there's so much good that we can do collectively. So I'm here. Reach out to me, my brothers, my sisters. And believe me, I don't come alone. I come with a group of other folks that are not on this call, that if I call, will stand up to help, right? From whatever it is. I've mentioned doctors, I've mentioned scientists, I like calling it the collective, well-meaning, well-spirited people that show up, right, to help the community grow. And I want that for all of us, right? I want us all to be in a community like that, or in this one, right? Yeah. When I say I've helped 7 people today, and their commitment is for them each of them to go and help somebody else too, right? It's not just one flowing; it flows continuously. Yeah. And that's how we change our community, and that's how we change our world. Yeah. Sorry for talking so much, gentlemen. It was just in my spirit to share it. I apologize.
The energy was good as it was what it was meant to be.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Better than we expected. You dropped so many jewels financially, giving us history and everything. It was all across the board. We appreciate it. Great. The audience appreciated it. The chat was going crazy.
Yeah, this is us, right? We're not one-dimensional. We're multi-dimensional, multi-people across languages, across places. And we need to remind ourselves of that from time to time, that we're not alone in this, right? And together we're powerful.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Her link tree is on the screen. Take the time to write it down, screenshot, do what you got to do to get that information so you can get in contact with Dr. Lydie. And we got it. People still comment. She was great.
Yeah. Aw, thank you.
Yes, my boy Dave, man, King Start of the Day podcast, man. Dr. Lydie, we appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. I will make sure that your link tree is put in the description of this show.
Okay.
this episode so people can get out and reach to you and get the information they need. Also, too, make sure you check out Settle Shark. Business. And, man, get all the help and information that you need, man, so you can thrive and do what you got to do and keep your legacy going. And we appreciate you.
Thank you.
The power of the man letter, Settle Shark.
Yes, oh, yeah. And if you haven't hit the like button, man, and tune in. CTR Media Network. This has been the MCABW Podcast. Men Can't Always Be Wrong. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Hi, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, bro. That was an amazing show. Now, thank y'all for watching, man. It's your guy, T Swin.
Your boy, J Bean.
And we out. And get some merch. Hey there, podcast enthusiasts. Get ready to elevate your style and embrace your love for wit and wisdom with the Men Can't Always Be Wrong podcast shop. Slide into comfort and confidence with our exclusive line of t-shirts and hoodies. Show the world you're part of the conversation in fashion-forward apparel that speaks volumes. Start your day right with our premium mugs. Perfect for sipping on your favorite brew while tuning into the latest podcast episodes. Introducing our collection of trendy hats that scream personality, because your thoughts deserve a stylish headspace. Carry your enthusiasm with you wherever you go. Our backpacks and duffel bags are not just accessories, they're statements. Step into the future with our slides, the perfect footwear for any casual occasion. Because let's face it, comfort should never compromise style. Visit our online store now and explore the full range of Men Can't Always Be Wrong podcast merch. Plus, with just one click, dive into the world of captivating conversations by connecting to the official podcast webpage. Shop now at mcabwshop.myshopify.com, where being right has never looked this good.
The time is now, the time is here. Round up the soldiers and lend me your ear. Pick your head up, stick your chest out, be strong, listen closely, cause men can't always be wrong. The time is now, the time is here. Round up the soldiers and lend me your ear. Pick your head up, stick your chest out, be strong, listen closely, cause men can't always be wrong. Men can't always be. Men can't always be. Men can't always be wrong. Men can't always be. Men can't always be. Men can't always be. Men can't always be wrong. Men can't always be.
Listen, if anybody's interested in getting into podcasting, grab this book. Go on Amazon, grab this book. It goes with me almost everywhere. This book has like a workbook. It has places you can fill it in. It tells you how to monetize your podcast. It tells you how to set it up. It tells you about sponsorships. It even, listen, go on Amazon, get this book. And this is the Bible for podcasters. Listen, it was ranked #1 in podcasting books. Look right here. Best new podcasting book by Book Authority. Right there. Boom. And a little secret. Y'all, when you grab this book, I think it's page 43, there is a code on there. Listen, you can get access to her class, her course. Get her course. It's worth hundreds of dollars. But this book it's less than $50. Grab this book on Amazon. I'm telling you, I carry it everywhere. She is the best. Grab this book on Amazon.